All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about a problem that's kind of hiding in plain sight. It affects everything from your phone to the biggest websites out there. And it's all about messy data. We're going to explore why that simple spreadsheet you're using might actually be holding you back. And then we'll uncover a much smarter way to do things that basically powers the entire modern internet. So, let's dive in. Okay, so let me start with a little riddle for you. What could possibly connect the contact list on your phone to a huge online store crashing on Black Friday, the busiest shopping day of the year? I know, it sounds totally random, right? But believe it or not, the answer is exactly the same for both. It all comes down to how their information is stored. And that leads us right into our first section, where we meet the villain of our story today, something called the flat file. This is that simple one big list approach to data that seems so easy at first, but as you're about to see, it can lead to absolute chaos. So to really wrap your head around what a flat file is, just picture your phone's contacts. But imagine them all jammed into one single giant messy spreadsheet. You've got names, phone numbers, addresses, birthdays, little notes, everything all just mashed together in one long continuous list. Seems simple enough, right? Well, let's see what that actually looks like when a business tries to use it. Just look at this table from an online store. See how for every single item that Rebecca Johnson buys, all of her details, name, address, phone number, are typed out all over again and again. And look, the same thing for Mushtaq Akbar. That right there, that's what we call data redundancy. And it's not just messy, it's a huge waste of space and honestly, a perfect recipe for mistakes. And trust me, this is not just a theoretical problem. One major retail chain learned this the hard way. On Black Friday of all days, their entire system just crashed. And why? Because all of their most important data, their customers, all the orders, their inventory, it was all crammed into one of these massive flat files. A single tiny update could break thousands of rows, leading to people being double charged and items showing up as available when they were actually long gone. It was a complete and total disaster. So, to sum it all up, these flat files have some serious flaws hiding under that simple surface. You get all that data redundancy, which just eats up space and memory. The whole thing is incredibly error-prone. I mean, think about it. If a customer moves, you have to hunt down and change their address in every single place they appear. And trying to ask complex questions like, how many customers in this zip code bought this item? Forget about it. It's just way too slow. Okay, but don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. There is a hero in this story. Let's move on to our next section and see how we can fix this whole mess with a much more elegant solution. So here's the fundamental difference, side by side. On the left, you've got the flat file, one giant, messy, and super risky table. But on the right, you have the solution, a relational database. This system uses multiple, smaller, and much smarter tables that are all connected to each other. The result? You get hardly any repetition, and the whole system is way safer and incredibly efficient. So what exactly is this thing? Well, it's called a relational database. And instead of one giant list, it stores information in several smaller specialized tables that are all logically linked together. The best way to think about it is like having a separate clean address book just for your customers, a perfect catalog just for your products, and a dedicated ledger just for orders, and they all work together in perfect harmony. And this is what that looks like in the real world. This is the new orders table. You can see, instead of repeating all the customer and product names, it just uses these unique ID numbers. So, customer 02942, we know that's Rebecca Johnson, and all her details are now stored just once in a completely separate customers table. Same deal for the products. And that right there is the secret to making everything so much more efficient. But wait a minute. You might be asking, how do these separate tables actually talk to each other? How does that orders table know which customer and which product it's pointing to? Well, that's where the real genius of this system lies. So the first piece of this puzzle is what's called the primary key. The easiest way to think about this is like a unique social security number for every single piece of data. It's a one-of-a-kind identifier for every row in a table. So in our customer table, every single person gets their own unique customer ID. And in the product table, every item gets a unique product ID. No two can ever be the same. And the second piece of the puzzle is the foreign key. This is the bridge. It's the connection between the tables. A foreign key in one table is really just a copy of the primary key from another table. It's like the secret handshake that lets the orders table point directly to a specific customer without having to copy all of their information over and over again. Let's just walk through it real quick. So the orders table needs to log a new order for a customer. Instead of writing down their full name and address yet again, it simply uses that foreign key, the customer ID. That ID number acts like a perfect little pointer, linking directly back to the one, and only one, entry for that customer in the main customer table. And just like that, connection made. All the data is linked up, it's efficient, and it's clean. Now, this whole process of breaking down a big, messy table into smaller, linked ones, well, it has a formal name. And yeah, it's a bit of a technical term, but I promise, the concept itself is beautifully simple. It's called normalization, but really, you can just think of it as decluttering for your data. It's the whole strategy of organizing your information to get rid of all that wasteful repetition and, most importantly, to make sure your data is reliable and consistent. And the payoff for doing this? It's huge. You get way less redundancy, which saves a ton of storage space. You get way fewer errors because now if a customer moves, you only have to update their address in one single place. Your searches, or queries as they're called, become much, much faster. And overall, your data just becomes more trustworthy and consistent. It's a win-win-win. Now, I know this might all seem a little bit abstract, but this technology is literally the invisible backbone of the internet we use every day. Let's take a look at how some of the biggest companies you know use it. Here's Simon Lumb from the BBC. He points out that these relational databases are built for one thing above all else: speed. They can read data incredibly fast, which means the website can load for you incredibly fast. And, when you're desperately refreshing the page to get the latest football scores, that speed is everything. And here's another great example from Matt Clark at BBC Sport. He explains how they use these relationships to organize all of their content. A single news story can be tagged with both Olympics and cycling. This lets them automatically build entire sections of their website just from the data. It's an incredibly powerful way to create structure out of thousands of different articles. And for the ultimate example of just how big this can get, an engineer from Facebook actually calls databases their lifeblood. Just think about that for a second. Every single one of its billions of users has their own relational database structure, storing all their likes, their comments, their friends. It's the only thing that allows a platform that massive to even function. Okay, so we've seen the problem, we've seen the solution, and we've seen the incredible real-world power of this approach. So now let's bring it all back home and think about how this applies to you. Here's the big takeaway from all this. Learning to think with a relational mindset can save you countless hours and prevent so much data drama. And it really doesn't matter if you're building an app, organizing a school project, or even just tracking a personal hobby. Learning to think in terms of these separate, linked tables, it's a genuine superpower. And so that leaves us with one final question for you. Think about the data in your own life. Is there a messy spreadsheet you use for work? A complicated list for a passion project that's just driving you crazy? How could you redesign it using these clean, simple, linked tables? The power to get organized is in your hands now.